I had no idea that you're so connected to Na'anach.
I didn't either, actually. I didn't, on occasion, I was like, well, I didn't realize they were so like that, but it's great.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful day. Like a lot, everyone I spoke to all said like the whole day, it was just like a beautiful day, beautiful like.
And she came in by horse?
No, we went to a horse farm. First we went to the hotel, we went to a horse farm, we took pictures with the horse, and then we went to the hall.
I just took pictures with the horse.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't ride into
the horse was supposed to come, and him and her were supposed to like go on a horse. And then the guy called her in the morning and canceled because like they had emergency meeting for the horse. So she went to the horse farm and they promised some sort of like
compensation.
You guys can like come and some
take pictures.
It was a great day.
What's this book? This is Rav Steinsaltz's on the Parsha. So it's a new book. You should get it. Okay, so one of the most troublesome parshas in the Torah, and it's like a unique story in many ways, and we'll see in a couple of minutes why. Okay, so it begins in Perek Tet Zayin. It's Parshat Koracxh, and so it starts like this: Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahat ben Levi. So Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahat, the son of Levi. So we know that he's a Levi, right? And we know from previous parshas, we already know that Korach was not just one of the regular Leviim, one of the regular Levites, but in fact, his group were the ones that were actually carrying the Holy Ark, right? Whenever we traveled in the Midbar, so the different families of Levites were in charge of taking apart the Mishkan and then putting it back together, and they had wagons on which they took the parts of the Mishkan and transported it, but the Ark itself was carried on their shoulders. So he's like from those people who are carrying the Ark, right? And so what did he do? He took, Vayikach Korach, he took. What did he take? Right? Doesn't say what he took. It just said he took. So he took, and with him were also Datan and Aviram, Bnei Eliyav, the children of Eliyav, the On ben Pelet, Bnei Reuven, and also another great leader of the Jewish people from the tribe of Reuven. And Datan and Aviram, we already have encountered them in the Chumash in the past. They are the troublemakers, right? According to our tradition, also they're the ones who got Moshe in trouble in Egypt. Okay, when Moshe was trying to make peace between two Jews who were fighting, and one of them said, "Are you planning to kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" And then Moshe Rabbeinu realized that he thought nobody knew that he had done that, and now he realized that it was known, and that was those two people were Datan and Aviram. And then also in other events when there were rebellions and so on, like they were leaders, they were rabble rousers, worse than rabble rousers. So Korach and these leaders, Datan, Aviram, and On from the tribe of Reuven, they took. We'll see what they took in a moment, but hold on. Vayakumu lifnei Moshe, and they stood themselves before Moshe, v'anashim mibnei Yisrael, including a group of people from the children of Israel, Chamishim u'matayim, a group of 250. Nesiei Eidah, and these were leaders of the community, princes of the community, Kri'ei Mo'ed, people who would be called to important meetings. Ist rausgestoffen ein bisschen von der Chassene? Noch nicht, okay.
Keiner ist genug geschlafen.
Keiner ist genug gestoffen. Too bad, you guys. You don't speak Yiddish, learn Yiddish. And these 250 people, Korach, and these 250 people were people who would be, they were leaders of the community, they were Nasi'im, they were princes, they were, Nasi basically also translates in modern Hebrew as presidents. And they were, like whenever something important had to be discussed in the community and so on, these were like the big shots, like, the big guys. Anshe Shem, they were people of fame. And what did they do? Third verse, Vayikahalu al Moshe val Aharon. They gathered against Moshe and Aharon. They gathered against Moshe and Aharon. And Vayomru Aleihem, they said to them, Rav Lachem, you have much for yourselves. Kichol ha'ida kulam kedoshim. The entire community is holy, right? The entire community is holy, and Madua titnasu al kahal Hashem. So why do you raise yourself over the community of God? Why did you put yourself up on a pedestal, so to speak? Vayishma Moshe heard their argument. Vayipol al panav, and he fell upon his face. Okay, before we go on, let's just explain these verses to begin with. So Rashi right away in the first verse, Vayikach Korach, Rashi deals with this problem. Vayikach is a verb. Usually when you say Vayikach, he took, you expect the next thing to tell you, the next thing should tell you, what did he take, right? So if you have a Rashi and you want to follow inside, so Rashi first of all starts off with the first verse. So Rashi starts off and he says, Vayikach Korach, he says, Parshat zo yafe nidreshet b'midrash Shabbat Tanchuma. What?
No, Jane, we took a person.
Oh. Yeah. This parsha is well expounded upon in the Medrash. So Vayikach Korach. So Rashi says, what did he take? For those of you who are studying Rashi, you have to know that whenever Rashi cites a couple of verses from the text, right? The first thing you have to know is that Rashi is trying to explain something. He's answering a question, but he usually doesn't write what the question is. The question actually the question should be obvious to everybody, and Rashi writes elsewhere that his whole commentary was intended to explain the simple meaning of the text and to answer questions that a child would ask. And there was one child that we know of that asked every question that Rashi addresses. It was the visioner when he was 6 years old. They say that he asked every question that Rashi addresses. Now there are books, there is forum. Maybe you have it, Pesach. What's it called? On explaining Rashi, like what is, there's a 5-volume set, like, going through every Rashi in the Torah, and like dealing specifically, what is the question that Rashi is asking, I think it's called What's Bothering Rashi. I think that's the name of the set. What's bothering Rashi? So, Vayikach Korach. So Rashi says, what did he take? Lakachet atzmo. He took himself. Litzad acher. He took himself to the other side. This is where why did the chicken cross the road jokes come from, He took himself to the other side. By the way, everybody knows the term Abraham Ha'ivri, right? What does Ha'ivri mean?
The other side.
The other side,
He's
right?
on the other side of the rest of the world.
Exactly. That's probably the most accurate explanation of that. That Abraham went me'ever lakrish. He crossed over the road. The whole world was worshiping idols, and he said no. Right? He went to the other side. So Korach took himself to the other side. Lihiyot nechlak. What? Acher. It's a misprint. It's the sad acher. What do you have in yours? Akachet atzmo, the tzad acher. Okay? So he took himself to the other side. Lihiyot nechlak mitoch ha'ida. He separated himself from the community. Lo'orer al ha'kohuna, to lodge a complaint about the priesthood. V'zeu shetirgim unkelus, and that explains why unkelus translates the word vayikach. He translates it as v'it pelev. What is palga? What is to separate, to break apart, right? Nechlak mishar ha'ida. He separated himself from the rest of the community, lachzik b'machloket, in order to establish, to lodge this, to make this argument. The word machloket means argument, and the root of the word is what?
Division.
Chelek, right? The chalek is to separate, right? And so too, there's a phrase in Eov. We see that the word lakachat, to take, relates to this. There's a phrase in Eov that says, "So what has your heart taken you to? Right? Where is your heart taking you? What's in your heart that's moving you to separate you, mishar b'nei adam, from other people?" So that's one explanation that Rashi gives, that Vayikach Korach, whom did he take? He took himself. He separated himself, right? Davar Acher, another explanation, is Vayikach Korach. Korach took, whom did he take? Mashach Rashei Sanhedreot Shebahem Bidvarim. He drew the leaders of the courts of the Jewish people, Bidvarim. He took them with words. So we find in the Chumash also, we find that it says that Hashem says to Moshe, take Aaron. So what does it mean, take Aaron? It doesn't mean pick him up and carry him. It means, like, take him with words, right? Words are very, very powerful, right? There's a story that I once heard from a neighbor of mine in Montreal, Rav Daniel Mund. Remember, he lived upstairs from us on Barclay. And he heard the story from that book that you like to read by Rabbi Oshri. The story is that once the Chofetz Chaim was visiting some city in Lithuania, maybe Bialystok, and people were coming to see him for advice, for blessings, and so on. He was a very holy man. And he, and before anybody would go in, there was a secretary who would write down the name of the person that was going to come in and what he wanted to talk about. And then the secretary, he would take the note into the Chofetz Chaim, and the Chofetz Chaim would generally accept the piece to see the person. But there was one person that wanted to come in and see him, and the Chofetz Chaim refused. So this man, the secretary, came out and he told him, sorry, the rabbi won't see you. So he was very, very taken aback, and he wrote a note to the Chofetz Chaim saying, I promise you I won't talk about anything that I wanted to talk about. I just want to come in and please tell me why you wouldn't see me. So on that basis he took him in, and he came in and he asked him, were you involved in Jewish education? And he says, yes, he was a principal of a Jewish school for many years. Did you ever expel a kid from your school? And he said, yes, it happened once that there was a kid in grade 3, and there was a conflict between the board and his father. They wanted him to pay more tuition. He said he couldn't pay more tuition. And this went on for a while, and eventually the school board said to him, take your kid out. Chofetz Chaim said to his principal, do you remember the name of this boy? So he said, yeah, it was something like Label or something like that, Arya Label. And said, did you stay in touch with him? Do you know where he is now? Do you know who he is today? He said, no. He said, I'll tell you who he is. It's Leonid Trotsky. Okay. You've heard of Trotsky? Trotsky was basically, Stalin was like the leader of the Communist Party, but Trotsky was like the big intellectual in communist Russia, behind the Russian Revolution. And Trotsky was a very, very powerful public speaker. He was a real orator. And he would come into a town, they would put up signs that he's giving a talk. Yeshivas closed overnight. Like the students of yeshivas, they wanted to hear what everybody heard about Trotsky. He was so powerful that they say that they didn't even go back to close their Gemara. In one talk, he convinced people to change their whole way of life. Okay? That's how powerful he was. And the Chofetz Chaim says, that's the kid you kicked out of your school. So, you have a word for it in your country. What's it called? Demagogues and things like that, right? There are people who have very strong verbal skills, and they're amazing in their ability to influence people. Politicians try to do that, etc., right? In your field of work that you were doing back in Williamsburg, also, you want to get a catchy, like, we've got the best chillent in Williamsburg, or something like that, right?
Shabbos all week.
Shabbos all week. Is that the name of a restaurant?
Should be. It takes a Shabbos and then it'll be all week. It's a new age diet.
There are children's restaurants that are served, by Zucker and Welsh you can get children almost every night. There's a little snack bar there.
And of course, it's relocated. Hamish Resi.
Hamish, where are they now?
Then the windmill building next to.
Oh yeah, they moved to the windmill. Yeah. They make good children.
Yeah. Good schnitzels too.
Yeah.
Are there potato signs?
Huh?
Are there potato signs on there?
Yeah, well, it's probably where they have children, they probably have that too. Anyway, so Korach was a great guy. Okay, he wasn't. We're not talking about an uneducated person and so on. And in fact, the Gemara says that Korach, it says he was deceived by his perception. In other words, he knew prophetically that Shmuel, the great prophet Shmuel Hanavi, was going to be his descendant. And concerning Shmuel, it says that, like when you say in the davening, so the Gemara says that Shmuel was the equivalent of Moshe and Aaron. Not the equivalent of Moshe individually and Aaron individually, He was the equivalent of Moshe and Aaron together. So here's Korach, and he's what do you call it? Baruch haba. And he sees that he's got this great descendant coming from him, right? And Rav Shlomo once said that why is this rebellion taking place now? Particularly now. And so this is after the story from last week, after the story of the Meraglim, after the story of the spies. And all of a sudden, the Jewish people find out that guess what? They're not going into Israel, right? And so here are these leaders of the community, and what are they thinking? They're thinking, if we're not getting into Israel, there's nothing wrong with us. It must be that there's a problem with the leadership. We got to get a new leadership. If we would have a good leadership, this wouldn't be happening. Okay? That's one explanation as to why it's happening now. After the Meraglim. After they heard that we're not going to Israel, right? Like it makes a lot of sense. I think it's the Ishbitzer that says that. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like everybody's like, you're coming out of Mitzrayim, you're on your way to Eretz Yisrael, and boom, comes the Meraglim, there's a rebellion. Hashem says, 40 years in the desert, right?
They don't have anything to lose. After they're going to be buried.
Oh, you mean Korach and his people have nothing to lose? That's also in a sense you could say that's true.
I'm just wondering, there's usually a connection between the end of the previous Parsha and this Parsha. So the end of the last week's Parsha was
so the connect was tzitzis, right? So his eyes led him astray. That's why the Medrash about he saw that he had a great descendant coming from him, right? Right, but he was wrong. Then there's another Medrash further down in Rashi that says that Korach took the 250 people with him, and he dressed them in a talis that was completely tchelet, that was of blue wool, right? And he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, does this talis have to have tzitzis? Right? Moshe Rabbeinu said, yes, it has to have tzitzis. And he says, that's so ridiculous. A regular talis, one thread of tzitzit, one thread of tchelet, one thread of blue wool is sufficient. So, and what's the whole point of the blue wool, right? Is to remember God. So if the whole talis is already blue, what do you need the tzitzis for? And similarly, he asked another question. If you have a room full of Sforim, let's say a room full of Sifrei Torah, holy books, do you have to have a mezuzah on the door, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu said, yes, you have to have a mezuzah. And he says, the room is full of Torahs, and in the Torah you have the Shema Yisrael, which is in the parchment in the mezuzah. So if you already have it in the Sefer Torah, what do you need it on the doorpost for? Right? The whole room is full of it, right? So he was mocking also. You understand? He's mocking, and you can always come up with some questions to make something look a little bit ridiculous. You can always do that. Okay. So what is his complaint? So let's go back into the text. By the way, Rashi points out another thing. Why is the tribe of Reuben involved over here? Why particularly the tribe of Reuben? Why not any other tribe or so on? And theoretically, this was really an argument that really pertained to the Levites. Right? We got a Kohen, we got a Levi. You're a Levi also, that's right. And so Rashi says, Oy li Rasha, oy li Shchenoi. Woe to the wicked one, woe to his neighbor. tribe of Reuben was camped right next to where Korach was camped. So there was a lot of talk going on over there. But that's not that doesn't answer the question completely. Rashi is just deriving the lesson from that. But basically, the 10 and Abiram were from the tribe of Reuben, and so was On ben Pelet. And it is a fact. I remember when I was a first year of university, so we had to take, even though I was in commerce at the time, we had to take a course in sociology. So the professor was giving this whole lecture that there was a study done that white people who moved from the southern states to the northern states, that their attitudes towards the black people changed over time, because in the north they were more tolerant of the black people, in the south they were very anti-black. And she's giving this whole big class, like wow, what a major discovery, So I went up to her after class and I said, "It's like this is a major discovery." She said, "Yeah." And Herschel, come right up here. Fisher, I'm tired. You're Herschel, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, this is a major discovery." I said, "That's very interesting." In the Talmud, it says that it puts forth that whole thesis in two words: avir, po'el. The air you breathe has an effect on you. In other words, you hang around in a good crowd, it's going to affect you positively. Hang around in a negative crowd, it's going to affect you. I don't know if that's yours or mine, by the way. One of our phones is ringing. Okay. Oh, yours is here. Okay, fine. No, I'm not going to. Right. So you hang around with holy people. It's gonna make you more attuned to holiness. You hang around. If you're going to go hang around in the bars or whatever it is, where people aren't careful with the way they speak and the language that they use, you'll notice if you hang around with certain people, you start using certain words. Hang around with other people, you stop using those words, right? Okay. So the Bnei Reuben and Korach, they're hanging around together. They get influenced. So, what is the argument, right? So we've got, just see who it is. I don't think I need to speak to them now, but it looks like they're trying to get me. Okay, so we've got, now what's interesting here, compare this with previous rebellions in the Jewish community. What were those rebellions about? Like take, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, we read about the people were complaining about what they wanted. They said they were singing, we have man in the morning, man in the evening, man at supper time, right? And all we have is man. We want some fleischiks. We want some steaks. We want some meat, right? Okay, so they're complaining about food, right? On another occasion, they're complaining about the complaints were basically. They were, in a certain sense, like Rav Steinsaltz supposed to, they were sort of childish, and even the story of the Meraglim, even the story of the spies, right? It's a big rebellion. It's a very serious rebellion, right? But still, it's not a rebellion against the leadership. It's not a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. They're basically saying, it's really going to be difficult to go to Israel, right? We're better off staying in the Midbar, spiritually better off, right? Eretz Yochelet Yoshveahi, but we were spiritually better off, and so on, and better that we shouldn't go, right? This rebellion is different. First of all, this rebellion is being led by the leadership of the Jewish community. Right? It's not being led. It's not being led by people who are hungry for a certain food, or by people who are just scared to go into the future and so on. This is being led by the big machers, right? And what are they saying to Moshe Rabbeinu? They're saying, let's look at Pasuk Gimel again. They gathered against Moshe Rabbeinu and against Aaron, and they said to them, Rav Lachem, you have taken too much leadership for yourselves. Would you like a chumash? Give him from the Hirsch.
It's reasonable. It is. It's a reasonable complaint or objection.
Look, there's no question. It makes chapter 7:16. It makes a lot of sense. If it wouldn't make sense, then he wouldn't have gotten all that support. As you'll see, as we go along, you'll see that not only did he have the 250 people with him, he had, when it came to the showdown, like everybody's out there, and guess who they're rooting for? They're rooting for Koracxh.
Okay. Although Moshe and Aaron didn't take on the responsibility themselves.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying, like, here.
That they took it
This is what makes this rebellion so different. You understand? Until now, every rebellion was not really against Moshe and Aaron. They were crying for this, they were complaining about this, they were complaining about that. And even with the Meraglim, it wasn't against Moshe and Aaron. They didn't say, Moshe and Aaron, look at what you've done to us. They said, God wants us to go to Israel, and we don't think it's a good idea. Okay? Here, they're saying to Moshe and Aaron, you have usurped a leadership role, and you've done this on your own. Okay? So the argument is, first of all, he says, so look again carefully at Pasuk Gimel. Vayikalu al Moshe v'al Aaron, they gathered against Moshe and Aaron. Vayamru aleim, and they said to them, Rav lachem, you've taken much for yourselves, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is like the king, Aaron is the high priest. Ki kol ha'ida kulam ketoshim. After all, the entire community is holy, right? Everybody stood at Mount Sinai. Everybody heard God speaking, right? Uv'tocham Hashem, and Hashem is dwelling in the midst of the entire community. U'madua titnasu al kahal Hashem. So why are you raising yourself over the community of God? Why did you take these positions, these leadership positions that you are claiming are exclusive? Understand? When it comes to Torah, right? And other roles of leadership, it's a matter of merit. Are you a Talmid Chacham? Are you a scholar? Do you, in other words, and if you are, it doesn't matter who your father was, right? At least maybe nowadays in some places it's a little bit different, but okay. But in theory, like whoever, like when in a yeshiva world, whoever's like the biggest Talmid Chacham, that's the one that usually becomes the Rosh Yeshiva. It's not like that anymore, but that's how it certainly for sure it used to be. Whoever's the biggest Talmid Chacham, that's the one you're going to learn Torah from, right? You have the merit, you have the skills to be to be a leader. So people are going to vote for you, right? But now here you have Kohune, and being Kohanim is now it's an exclusive thing. It's by birth, right? And you can have a Levi like Koracxh, who is who's like an awesome person, obviously. He's carrying the Oren Kodesh on his shoulders, right? Which metaphorically means like he's somebody really, really special. And Aaron HaKohen is the one who made, no? What did he make?
The eagle.
He made the eagle, he made the golden calf, right? And he becomes the Kohen Gadol, he becomes the high priest, and it's exclusive, right? And Levi, once it's established that Aaron and his children, they are the family of Kohanim, and their descendants are the Kohanim, so they are the ones that are now Kohanim, and that's it. You could be a Levi, and you could be a bigger Talmud Chacham than Aaron HaKohen. You could be anything better, but you can't be a Kohen. And Korach is coming and he's saying, you, Moshe Rabbeinu, you yourself argued with Hashem during the time of the Meraglim, and on other occasions when God when God offered to wipe out this generation and start a new strain of people, of elite people from elite lineage. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no. I'm not interested. I want these people, right? These are my people, including Dosan and Aviram, including the troublemakers. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't willing to trade any Jew for a Malach. Okay? So Korach is now coming with these people and they're saying, hey, everybody is holy, right? And we have the merit. These are important people. So why did you take these positions for yourselves, acting as if and nobody else can get into it? And therefore they're accusing Moshe and Aaron. What are they accusing him of? They're accusing Moshe Rabbeinu as having fabricated the whole thing, right? In other words, now they're challenging the truth of the transmission, right? Until now, nobody questioned, is Moshe Rabbeinu the true shepherd, delivering the exact message that Hashem gave him? But now they're challenging that. Okay? It's a whole different challenge. You understand? When we came out of Mitzrayim after the splitting of the sea, what does it say? Vayaminu b'Hashem v'Moshe avdo. We believed in God and we believed in Moshe, his servant. We believed that Moshe was the Eved Hashem, that Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us the absolute exact things that God has asked him to tell us. Right? And now, so that's why until now there was no rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. There were rebellions, but not against him specifically, right? This is against him, but it's not just against him, it's against everything that we believed in until then. Steinsaltz says it's sort of similar to reform movement, right? Their argument is, you made these things up, and why we're not beholden to it, right? And so this is like a similar type of argument. Like, everybody's holy. We can do these things. We can do these things ourselves, right? So what's Moshe Rabbeinu's reply? The first thing that he does is when you pull al panav, he falls on his face. What does that mean? What's he doing? before he actually says anything, right? The next verse, the fifth verse, it says that so then he starts responding verbally. But what's this part about falling on his face? We've seen it already a few times that he falls on his face. What does that mean? What is this? It's a phrase meaning what?
Huh?
No, actually not despair, but feeling lost, what? Praying. praying, right? Nefilat apayim. When we do that in davening every day of the weekdays, except on special occasions. Nefilat apayim is the term that's used for what? For tachnun, right? For the penitential prayers called nefilas apayim, right? You get down and you put your face down and so on, right? Okay, what? Yom Kippur. Well, that's actual bowing, but nefilas apayim is like only getting down and so. But then again, we don't see him particularly praying, right? But just look at it simply, like here he is, he's being attacked and saying you're making yourself bigger than everybody else. So what does he do? He lowers himself down. He says, "You're accusing me of making myself bigger than everybody else. Here, I'm bowing down to you. I'm falling down in front of you, right?" And it's interesting. What did the Torah tell us a couple of weeks ago about Moshe Rabbeinu? He was the most humble person. So very often, when you get it, when somebody against you is attacking you, they're very often attacking you on something that is the exact opposite of the truth. Right here, he is the most humble person of all, and they're telling him, "Oh, look at what you've done! You've raised yourself above everybody." Right?
He didn't want to be the leader.
He didn't want to be the leader. Well, their side of it is, maybe once you were a good guy, but power corrupts, etc., etc.
Is there a connection between falling on his face and his humility?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's an expression of his humility. Right? Now, Korach was a relative of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was a Levi. And they were, I think, first or second cousins.
His father was Moshe's.
Korach ben Yisro ben Kohas, and Kos was the son of Amram. Right? So they were cousins, and in other words, the rebellion is coming from within your circle. It's not just.
Wasn't everyone cousins then?
Huh?
Wasn't everyone cousins then?
Well, not as close as Moshe and Korach. Okay. Yeah, everybody is cousins.
I feel like you were all
They were all like fifth, sixth generation from the Shvatim.
Yeah, I understand, but still, so everybody's related. But here, they're right. Okay.
Moses went outside of his immediate family to find his wife, didn't he? She was even
right.
Bas Yisrael.
Right.
So was there reason for that in terms of trying to the gene pool and such like, so that it wasn't such a incestuous kind of familial?
I never took biology. Okay.
Then it was biology. Okay.
Yeah. All I know is I can imagine it's hard to swim in a pool full of genes. Anyway,
Unless they're Levites.
Unless they're Levites, right?
Those adverts, diving in, swimming out, shrink to fit,
Right. Good.
Stonewashed.
Stonewashed. Yeah. Okay, so now he responds. So Moshe Rabbeinu responds to Korach and to his whole gang. In the morning, God will reveal to who belongs to God. In other words, with a kadosh, and who is really holy, and He will bring those people close to Him. And whoever God is choosing, He will bring them close to Himself. So we're going to have a test. Zot asu. This is what you should do. K'chu lachem machtot. Everybody get yourself fire pans. Korach v'chol adato. Korach and his whole community. Utnu v'hen eish. put fire into it, put coals into it, v'simu aleim ketoret, and then put the incense offering on it, lifnei Hashem, and offer it before God, machal, tomorrow. V'yah ha'ish asher yivchar Hashem, and the one that God will choose, who HaKadosh, will know that's the holy person. Rav lachem b'nei Levi, children of Levi, you're undertaking a huge risk, because we know already from who? Two of Aaron's children, what happened to them? Elazar and Itamar, right? And Nadav and Avihu. So who was it? It was Nadav and Avihu, right? They went and they offered the incense offering, and they died. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, you're so sure of yourselves, you're so sure that you are as holy as Aaron, you're so sure that we made up this whole story, etc., etc. Okay, so tomorrow, all of you come with your fire pans, with your incense, and go ahead. And also Aaron, and whoever survives that, it's obviously going to be Hashem's doing, right? And you're undertaking a very, very big risk. Right? And then he says some more. Now, notice, compare verse 5 with verse 8. Who's Moshe Rabbeinu talking to in verse 5? Pasuk Hey. What does it say? Vayidaber El. Go on. Ve'el kol adato. He's talking to everybody, right? To the whole gang of 250. Now look at verse 8. Vayidaber Moshe El Koracxh. Now he's talking to Korach. He's addressing him more personally, right? And he says, Shimun Abnei Levi. And look at how he addresses them. He says, listen to me, you children of Levi, you Levites. Hamad mikem ki yivdil avakei Yisrael etchem miyadat Yisrael lakriv etchem elav. Is it not enough for you that you've already been chosen by God to have this honorable relationship with Hashem? Lavod et avodat Mishkan Hashem, that you have been chosen to do the service of the Mishkan, v'lamod lifnei ha'ida l'shartam, and that you're basically, you're not very different from Kohanim, right? Just like you can't be a Kohen, a Yisrael can't be a Levi, right? In other words, and verse Pasuk Yud, and he's brought you and all the children of Levi close to him, Itach, together with you, Vikashtem gam kohuna, now you want to be Kohanim also. So what's he saying to them? He's saying to them like this: if your argument is really sincere, if you're really, really sincere about what you're saying, that Kol Haida Kulam Kedoshim, everybody is holy, so why did you accept? Why did you accept being a Levi? You should have said right then, wait a minute, we don't want this. Everybody is holy, right? But until now, you accepted that there's a distinction between a Levi and a Yisrael, right? That was okay with you. So why are you now challenging the whole system and saying that there's something unfair here, that because you can't be Kohanim, right? Lachein, therefore, Ata v'chol adatcha noadim al Hashem da'aron mahu kitalinu alav. So therefore you and all the people who are arguing against Aaron, who is acting as a Kohen because I was told to make him the Kohen, right? So again, here we have a verse that again is difficult to understand. Lachein, right? How do you translate over here, lachein? Something seems to be missing over here, right? Therefore what? Therefore what? You got an English translation there. What does it say there, Pastor?
In English?
Yeah.
Therefore you and your entire assembly who are joining together are against Hashem.
Okay,
And that's for Aaron.
So here's how you would read it. This is a very good translation. So look at the Hebrew. So the way he's reading it is like this. Lachein, therefore, ata v'chol adatcha hanoadim, you and all your people who are joining together in this rebellion, know that what? Al Hashem. Your rebellion is really not against us, it's against Hashem. What? Moadim, getting together. Those of you who've gotten together with you. Right? But, right? Those who have gotten together with you, what you're doing is you're really challenging God. Right? It's not, and Aaron, he's just like an innocent bystander. He didn't want this job, right? He didn't want this job. But Hashem ordered it, right? Okay, so we see that Moshe Rabbeinu's whole response over here is quite unusual. Basically, he's and this is not finished yet. He goes on. You'll see soon. But he's saying, okay, you're so convinced that you're holy like Aaron, you're willing to take this challenge, okay, so good, get ready, take the challenge, right? So that's the first thing he offers them. Second thing is he's trying to appease them verbally. He's saying, come on, let's be honest. Is this what really is bothering you, that you're not getting to do the Ketores, that there's this division, that there's an area of life which is not open to merit, in other words, that is not based on, in other words, that is transmitted by birth rather than by than by merit. So then, why didn't you rebel? Why didn't you decline becoming Levium, right? And now he's saying to them again. He's saying that you should know. He's saying, you're not really arguing against me, you're arguing against Hashem. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. All the rebellions are against Hashem.
The others were clearly that way, but you see. So then Moshe Rabbeinu goes further. He sends someone to invite Datan and Abiram for a meeting, and they answer, they say, Lo na'ale. We're not going up to see Moshe Rabbeinu. Hama'at ki ha'alitanu me'eretz zavat chalav v'dvash. Is it not enough that he took us out of a land that was flowing with milk and honey? Lahamitenu b'midbar, and now we're going to end up dying here in the midbar. Ki tistarer aleinu gam histarer, and on top of that, he also wants to lord it over us. You haven't brought us to a land of milk and honey like you promised us. You promised us that we would have land and fields and vineyards. We didn't get any of that. Even if you were to take out the eyes of these people, in other words, meaning themselves, we refuse to see you. So now there, you see their angle. Their angle is, this is already like a very personal attack against Moshe Rabbeinu. Not only did you appoint Aaron as the Kohen out of your own decision, and we don't believe that you did this because God told you. But furthermore, you're a lousy leader, right? You took us out of Egypt. Now, Dosan and Abiram, according to the Medrash, they were like big machers in Egypt. They weren't working in the fields making bricks. Like they were like Yemach Shemam the Nassis. Huh? No, they were from tribe of Reuben. But they were like, the Nassis had what they called capos, like Jewish people that were appointed to be heads of work gangs and so on. Dosan and Abiram, they were well taken care of in Egypt. They were working for the authorities, so to speak.
Was Mitzrayim ever called land of milk and honey before?
No, but we did have they said we remember the values and so on, right? But now they're saying compared to what you're giving, you have as you promised us a land of milk and honey, and they're challenging them. They're saying, no, you took us away from a land of milk and honey, right?
Well, by repeating them, saying praise, there's importance there. So it seems to me that not being able to go into the land of milk and honey is like the underlying.
Well, they're appealing to the masses now. Okay. So now Moshe Rabbeinu gets very, very upset. Moshe Rabbeinu got very angry. He was very hurt. And he says to God, Al tefel el minchatam, don't turn to their offerings. In other words, don't even accept the portion that they have in the community offerings. Lo chamor echad mehem nasati, I never took a single donkey from them. Lo harioti et echad mehem, I never did anything harmful to any of them. Right? And so that's really strange, right? Like, like Moshe Rabbeinu is like venting his anger, his frustration, right? And he actually says to God, like, reject them totally, right? So skip a few verses just because it's late, okay? Go to 19, yeah, Hashem.
Because every time I read this parsha, I always get confused. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu, where does he want from Dustin Aviru to come? They don't want to be involved with the Ketores of the Pan.
No, they are going to be involved with the Ketores.
But why is Moshe? But they objected to going.
They objected to coming and meeting with him. He wanted to meet with them.
Oh, so he just wanted to talk with them.
He wanted to talk with them.
Oh, they didn't have a problem with going to the Pan.
No,
I thought that was. I just wanted to have this conversation with them.
Right.
That's what they. Okay.
Okay. Now go to verse 19. Okay. So they all got together the next morning with their fire pans and the incense offering, and they're standing at the entrance of the Ohel Moed, of the tent of meeting. Vayakel aleim Korach, verse 19. And what did Korach do? He gathered at Kol Haidah. He gathered together the entire community. El Petach Ohel Moed, to the entrance of the tent of meeting. Vayira Kvod Hashem El Kol Haidah, and then God appeared. The glory of God appeared before everybody. The pillar of cloud manifested. So Rashi explains, he went around and he told everybody, this is not just about us. It's about you guys. Like, we're doing this not just for ourselves. We're doing this for everybody. Right? We want to open up this exclusive club, and everybody could be a member. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, verse 20, L'Aaron lemor, hibadlu mitoch ha'edah hazot v'achaver otam k'raga. Hashem says to Moshe, now step aside. I'm going to wipe everybody out. Vayiplu apneiam, they fell on their faces. Vayamru, and they said, El Elohei haruchot, God who knows everybody's thoughts. Bechol basar, every individual's thoughts. Hayish echad yachtav al kol ha'edah tiktzov. One person is sinning, and you want to wipe out everybody, right? So, the way I understand these three verses is basically Hashem is sort of testing Moshe Rabbeinu. He's saying it's not that Hashem was really gonna wipe everybody out, but he's testing. Hashem is testing Moshe Rabbeinu, and he wants to see, where's your heart now? Now that you've been attacked personally, you personally have been attacked, right? And vilified. Are you still ready to protect the people? And what's a theoretical question? What if Moshe and Aaron would have stepped aside? Right? Do you think Hashem would have wiped everybody out? Probably not. Right? But but they would no longer be the leaders. Understand? Okay, so just a couple more verses, and Moshe Rabbeinu goes. Doesn't the ten of Iran didn't come to see Moshe Rabbeinu, so he went to speak to them. Just giving you a few more facts over here, right? Didn't help. And then Moshe Rabbeinu says to everybody, okay, everybody stay away from their tents. Something is going to happen now, and you don't want to get caught in this, right? And if you go to verse 28, Kafchet, V'yomi Moshe bezot teidu'un, with the following you will know, Ki Hashem shlachani la'asot et kol ha'maasim ha'ele, that God is the one who sent me to do all these things. Ki lo milibi, and that is not, I did not invent this in my heart. Im kimot kol ha'adam yemutun ele, ufkudat kol ha'adam yipaked aleim, lo Hashem shlachani. If these people will die like anybody else dies, even though it's as a result of the bringing of the Torah, then you'll know that it was not me. In other words, then you'll know that Hashem didn't send me. In other words, I acted on my own. But V'im b'riyah yivra Hashem, but God will make a new creation. Ufatzta ha'adama et piyah, and the earth will open its mouth. Uvala otam et kol asher lahem, the earth will swallow them up, and everything that they possess, including the members of their families. V'yavdu chaim she'olah, and they'll go into the pit of hell while they're still alive. V'yidatem, then you will know, ki mi'atzuha nashim ha'ele, you will know that these people angered at Hashem, the angry God. ויהי ככלותו לדבר את כל הדברים האלה, ותיבקע האדמה אשר תחתיהם. When he finished saying this, the earth split, the earth underneath them split, ותפתח הארץ את פי, and the earth opened up its mouth, ותבלע אותם ואת בתיהם, it swallowed them and their houses, ואת כל האדם אשר בקורח, and all the people that were there with Korach, ואת כל הרכוש, and all their possessions as well. וירדו הם בכל אשר להם חיים שאולה, they all went into the Sheol alive, but chas aleim ha'aretz, and the earth covered over them. Vayavdu mitoch ha'kahal, and they were lost from within the community. And v'chol Yisrael asher svivateyam nasu lekolam, everybody around them panicked and ran away. Ki amru pentiv la'inu ha'aretz, lest the earth, let's get out of here before the earth swallows us up. And a fire came out and consumed all the 250 people who had brought the incense offering. And then, if you skip a little bit more, immediately afterwards, maybe a day later or whatever, the people make another rebellion. And they accuse Moshe and Aaron, saying, you killed everybody. Right? What does it mean they're saying that you killed everybody? So one pshat is, you should never have allowed them to take this test. Right? You should not have prayed that God should make a new creation, which, by the way, according to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, the mouth of the earth says was created just before Shabbos, right? For the story of Koracxh. In other words, you should have maybe resigned, or you shouldn't have allowed this to happen. You knew that this is going to happen, right? It's like you tell a child, don't touch the hot stove, right? Don't touch it, it's hot, you're going to burn yourself, right? Because he says, I don't trust you, right? Now, we're not talking about like a little hot burn, right? We're talking about like something major. And you see your kid is going to say, I want to see if you're telling the truth. I'm going to go and put my hand into the fire. You're going to let them put their hand into the fire? Right? You're not gonna let them put their hand into the fire, right? So like that's one shot. The people are saying to Moshe and Aaron, you gave them this test. You should have absolutely not allowed it to happen. That's then there's also a little bit of a more sinister complaint over here. They know that Moshe Rabbeinu had tremendous spiritual power, and they're saying, for all we know is that you prayed to God that they should die, or something like that, right? You put a curse on them, or who knows what. But there's a rebellion, and the people are saying, like everybody's totally shook up now, right? Now, who is saying this? According to the pasuk, it says, "Kol adat b'nei Israel," like everybody is like whatever they harbored, whatever bad feelings they harbored until now, everybody's like really coming out with it. Right? So, so Moshe Rabbeinu, again, now a plague breaks out. And again, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, step aside, I'm going to wipe everybody out. And again, he prays for everybody, right? So, it's like a real deep lesson. Never use God against the people. Even when Hashem is like saying, you're 100% right and the people are wrong, just step aside, let me do my thing, and I'll take care of it for you. Right, so Moshe Rabbeinu has to sort of be in between and say to Hashem, no, I don't want, I'm not agreeing to this. Yeah, and Aaron then goes and takes his incense offering and he starts walking around the people, and the plague is over. And the Torah tells us that 14,700 people died in that plague. Okay?
Out of what was that women and children as well? The
It
influence men, women, and
it
children.
doesn't tell us. And this is in addition to the 250. And then, in other words, and then the Torah tells us that Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, go and gather from each tribe the staff, the mateh of the Nasi of each tribe, and also take Aaron's mateh and place them before the ark overnight, and in the morning bring them back out. And what happened was that Aaron's staff, it says it grew, it became alive, and there were almonds on it, right? And that way everybody saw that Hashem really had chosen Aaron. Okay? So, in other words, it wasn't enough. The other signs, the signs that in which people suffered, weren't enough. There had to be a sign that the whole separation between Kohen and Levi is not just something frightening, but in fact, the whole point is it's a sign of life. It's a sign of all the steps, all the sticks are together, and just the one starts growing almonds. It's a sign saying that the Torah is telling us, if somebody is challenging you, it's not enough to prove that you're right by showing how much they're going to suffer as a result of challenging you. You have to show them how much they're going to benefit from the division. Judy, I didn't tell you that Barak's rabbi from Miami, you hear, Judy? His rabbi from Miami was at Mayanot 2 weeks ago. Barak's rabbi came to Mayanot, Rabbi Kingsley. And
Very good.
Barak grew up in a Reformed community, and so his rabbi came, and an 80-year-old man, he said, and he said to Barak, what did he say?
He said he had a transformative spiritual experience.
He did.
Wow.
And my mother told me that when he got back, he spoke for 20 minutes in the temple
About Mayanot.
Mayanot.
Wow.
And how
Sure.
blown away he was by it. What an impression it made on him.
And so basically, like, the Rabbi Shlomo once spoke about, because I mentioned, the reason I brought this up now is because we mentioned before that Rav Steinsaltz sort of says that, this whole rebellion with Korach has got some similarities to the whole thing about Reform Judaism. Like, they're saying that, who are the rabbis to tell us this, or who are they to tell us that? And the Rabbi Shlomo once in a Sikha, like, Morton once, he spoke about, for those people who say, remove all barriers, take the machitzas down, right? And so he says, if you want to boil water, right, you have to put the water in a container, and then you can put it on top of the fire, and the container, the kettle, is a machitza. Take away the machitza, you're not going to have not water and not fire, right? In other words, it's the machitza that creates the opportunity for something special to happen. Take away the machitza, and it's going to be, and it's, you just how should we say, you want your heart to be a heart, you want your lungs to be lungs, you want your ears to be ears, you want your eyes to be eyes. You want to you need to have borders. You have to have borders for your own self. You have to have borders. We have to have limitations and so on. So Rav Steinsaltz basically points out that all the Mephoshim do, that Moshe Rabbeinu had to go to great lengths in this situation, like, because the whole foundation of Judaism is being challenged. This is not like a child's game, which the other rebellions were by comparison. The other ones were like, I don't like the man, I want this kind of food, I want that kind of food, I want, it was small stuff compared to what Korach is doing. Korach is like a top leader in the Jewish people, and there's a major challenge, not just against Moshe Rabbeinu's leadership, there's a major challenge against his honesty as a leader. Okay? So it's a serious thing, and you also got to know that when you're challenging something, you got to know that am I doing it because I'm looking for the truth, or am I doing it because I have a personal interest? So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot distinguishes between two types of arguments: machlokes l'shem shamayim and machlokes shelo l'shem shamayim. An argument that's for the sake of heaven and one that's not for the sake of heaven. An argument for the sake of heaven, the example that's given is Hillel and Shammai. An argument that's not for the sake of heaven, the example given is Korach and his gang. And what's Hillel and Shammai? They're arguing not because Hillel is not arguing with Shammai because he thinks I know better, or he wants to know the truth. And if Shammai is right, he wants to know that Shammai is right. And Shammai is arguing with Hillel because Shammai thinks that this is the truth. And if Hillel is right, I want to know that Hillel is right. Because they're both looking for the truth. They're not looking to win the argument. They're looking for what's the actual truth. Okay? And in the end, since they're both looking for the truth, the Gemara says, Eilu v'eilu divrei Elokim chayim. Both of them are speaking the words of the living God. Even though the halacha, we rule like one opinion and not like the other opinion, but the other opinion is not it's not wrong. You understand? There's a decision that was made. There are principles that govern the way halacha is established. But the Gemara says, don't think that Shammai, like even though in the vast majority of arguments between Hillel and Shammai we rule like Shammai, don't think that Shammai was wrong. He wasn't wrong. He was also speaking the words of God. He was also looking for the truth. And when Mashiach comes, we're going to rule like Beis Shammai. Okay? But for now, that's not the halacha. Okay? But they're both speaking the words of God. But when it's not L'Shem Shamayim, Eret fin boch. He's talking from his kishkas. You understand? He's making rulings on the basis of his personal interest. And that's a very problematic thing. I've kept you pretty late. I apologize, but at least it's a good show. You're welcome. So the main thing is, please stay away from arguments, unless you're sure that it's L'Shem Shemayim. That's pretty good.
The only way to win the argument is not to be in the argument.
Yeah, I know that it's not about winning the argument. It's about like, is it the truth that you're looking for, or is it
You can argue when you know that you're arguing just like to find the truth.
Right.
Like Sham.
There was a Rebbe, I don't remember who it was, that he had a Rebbetzin that Mamish like is always making arguments with him. And like even when he would have his students around, she'd come in and let him have it. And I forgot who the Rebbe was, his brother Sipur Hasidim. So and he would fight back with her. And then one day the students noticed he's not fighting back with her, he's just letting her vent. And he's not fighting back with her. Second time, he's not fighting back with her. And eventually they see he started arguing back with her. So they asked him, Rebbe, what's going on? So he said that whenever he would fight, if he wouldn't fight back with her, she felt even worse than if he fought back. So he fights back with her because his not answering her hurt her more than his answering her. Gay vase. Go figure it out. I was, so I'll just tell you one quick story. So the Alter Rebbe had a chassid of Shmuel Munkus. So one Shabbos there was like a big kiddush because a grandchild of Rav Levi Yitzchak and a grandchild of the Alter Rebbe were getting married. So like Rav Levi Yitzchak and the Alter Rebbe were together for Shabbos, and the Hasidim from both sides were all there. And the Alter Rebbe was davening and davening and davening. The Hasidim were finished davening, so they made kiddush and they started having the farbrengen. And they ran out of food, and one of them says to Shmuel, "Go see what else is available in the kitchen." So he goes into the kitchen and he finds a kugel. Of all things, he finds a kugel, and he brings it out, and the Hasidim loved it. They devoured it, and finally the Alter Rebbe finishes davening, and his wife goes to get him the kugel that she had made. There's no kugel. Well, she's a Rebbe, and she found out pretty fast who did what. She finds out that Shmuel Munkus took the kugel and they flushed it up at the kiddush. She goes into the Alter Rebbe. And she says, "I've had it with that guy, that chassid of yours. I made this kugel for you, this and that, and so on, and it's gone, and so on." The Alter Rebbe says, "Listen, if you want to complain against somebody, they have to be present." So they go and they bring Shmuel Munkus, and the Alter Rebbe says, "His Rebbe himself, what's the story?" And she says, "I put so much kavana into this kugel. I love you so much, and I made this kugel for you, especially for this Shabbos, and I so much wanted you to have it." And this guy goes, he walks into the kitchen, takes the kugel, puts it on the table, and they ate it up. And the Alter Rebbe says, he says to Shmuel, "And what's your complaint?" He says, "I have no complaints, it was delicious." Have a good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.